The 21-day Kickstart, the weekly check-in, is just about holding yourself accountable, knowing that there's a group of people going through the very similar things, getting your questions answered, and there's no silly questions. So make sure that you're getting all your questions answered. If there's any roadblocks that you come across and you're just like, oh, how can I navigate this? Or this isn't quite working for me. This is an opportunity to come to these sessions and get those questions answered. So let's go straight into it. So the first thing that I did want to share with you, always keep in mind that change takes effort. So I'm reading this really fascinating book about a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And that a growth mindset is that we are more capable of change. We're more inspired to learn. And one of the biggest things that is attached to a growth mindset and being able to achieve success is understanding that change takes effort. A lot of the time when we try and do something new, we've probably seen our kids do the same thing, we can get quite disheartened that, oh, I'm having to work so hard. I'm having to work so much harder than the person next to me, or this shouldn't be that hard. I should be able to just, make these changes really seamlessly. And with any aspect of our life, when we're learning new skills and we're making changes and we're improving our fitness, for example, it does take effort. So if you feel you're putting in a lot of effort, and that is completely okay. It's sort of starting to connect effort with feeling successful rather than feeling that you're not good enough at a task or a new activity. So a lot of the time, and especially in today's day and age with so much social media and social media born influencers and multimillionaires, that we feel that all of that should come quite easily. We don't see the work that goes on behind the scenes. And even you're just watching the tennis that we just finished watching, and watching someone like Rafa, like we see the end product, but we don't see the amount of effort, sacrifice that goes into it. And I'm not saying that you should feel that living a healthy lifestyle is a complete sacrifice. It's not what I'm saying at all, because that won't last very long. But what I am saying is that if you feel this is a bit of a struggle for you, and you're feeling like, oh, I've got to do this, and all this all feels new, and I forgot to do this, and now I have to make this change, it's okay to put in that effort for yourself. And just know that the longer you put the effort in, you'll find that you'll start to implement these changes, and they will become a little bit more second nature. So my message this week is not to be disheartened if you're putting in a lot of effort, because that's actually what creates success. I hope that helps. Next thing we're going to go through is progress. And this is the progress through the 21-day Kickstart course. And I'm very excited to announce that there's only 42% of the course that's currently available. And Amanda, who's on the call, Chelsea and Jennifer, you guys are absolutely on the ball, and you've watched everything, you've done everything, 42% complete, which is fantastic. Very close behind is Lloyd, Claire and Gazelle. So well done to you guys for keeping on top of all the course information as well, and getting through those different chapters. Okay, so questions I have for you. If you could please answer in the chat box. If you are watching this back in replay, I want you to either write it down, email it to me, reflect on it for yourself. You may even want to open up a new note in your phone and answer some of these questions and see how this improves over time. So the first question, because we were talking about effort, is what has been the biggest effort you have made in these first 2 days? What has been the thing that you feel has probably been the hardest? Has it been getting to bed on time? So give me some of your answers. Okay, the next question is, what were your energy levels like before the 21-day Kickstart, and what are they like now after 2 days? So if you think about the way you were feeling before you got started on the Kickstart, or before you started with us, what were your energy levels like? So if you're thinking about one feeling really quite flat and low in energy, not really having much motivation to do much, especially self-care and exercise. And if you think about 10 being really high energy, motivated, and having the energy to also get throughout your day. So let me know where you were before the Kickstart, and let me know, with the comma, where you are feeling now 2 days in. So you might find that there's been no change, which is completely normal, or you might find that there has been some change. So I'd love to see your answers on that one. So give me, on a scale of 1 to 10, what were your energy levels like before the Kickstart and what are they like now? Now we're going to go into your exercise. So remembering you're meant to be doing the 2 walks plus the 3 resistance training. So that could be a combination of the in-studio, if you're doing Pilates, if you're doing virtual, if you're doing your own resistance training 10 minutes at home. Good. So we've already seen, I know, Amanda, you did tell me that you, in the session today, that you're feeling like you really switched on and back on, which is really great. So before you were at 1 to 3 and today 4 to 6. Wow, fantastic. That's really, really good. And that's a lot of momentum from getting started and making change. Have you planned your 5 days of structured activity? So a lot of these are yes or no answers. It's more to get you thinking about it. It's not to make you wrong. So remembering you were trying to get in 2 walks, so between 20 and 40 minutes in duration, as well as your 3 resistance training sessions in. So plug that in and just let me know. The reason why I am asking you to answer with a simple yes or no is purely because I don't want you to feel that you have to explain yourself. Okay, if things aren't going the right way or you've made a choice that is off the challenge, you don't want to spend too much time in justifying yourself, because then you're strengthening your reasoning for making that particular or doing that particular behavior. So what we want to do is just go yes, no, and then we work on the no's and we pat ourselves on the back with the yeses. Schedule it into your day, into your week as well. It's really important just setting those appointments with yourselves like you make in the studio for your walks as well. Put it into your calendar. Okay, next question. Have you been drinking enough water? Yes or no answers. If it is a no answer and you feel like there's a reason behind not being able to get to that increased level of water intake or getting the adequate amount, sort of that 6 to 8 cups or that 1 cup per 9 kilo. If you feel like there's a little bit of information, a strategy, maybe a technique that would help you if you feel like you're struggling with this one. Okay, just some of the answers. We've got, yes, 3 gym sessions, a treadmill bike session on Monday after school drop off, and coaching T-ball for an hour. Absolutely, that counts, because I'm sure you're going to be coaching that outdoors. It's not going to be through Zoom. Definitely count those levels of activity. We can't be too hard on ourselves when we're already doing a lot to try and layer on top. Let's capture what we are already doing and recognize the effort that we are actually putting in place. So absolutely, that does count. Okay, answer the question about the water. Reflect on that. Yes and yes. We've got good answers here. Okay, the next question is, are you eating at your scheduled meals and nothing in between? That includes not having anything after dinner. The idea with that is that we're making sure we're having breakfast, snack if you're having it, lunch, snack, dinner, and then nothing, no nibbling after dinner. And there's another element to that, and that is about making sure that when you're eating each of those meals, you're actually feeling hungry in preparation for that meal. So if you're going from breakfast and then morning tea or your snack, you're not that hungry, need to revisit how much you're having for breakfast, because maybe it is too much. And you may want to get rid of that morning one and go straight to lunch. So the idea is making sure that in between two, that you're not having anything, only herbal teas and water, no extra snacking or milky teas in between. So answer yes or no with that one. Next question, are you adding a serving of fruit or veg to each of your meals as best as possible? The idea is 2 of those meals to be containing a fruit and 3 of those meals to be containing veg. So when you're talking about veg for snacks, it'd be things like carrot sticks, or even making up a vegetable soup as a snack with a handful of nuts is a really good way to get your vegetable intake as well. Yeah, breakfast can get drawn out a little bit. Is that because you're sort of working and eating at the same time? If you can, you want to try and finish that off, because there's that 3-hour cycle that, yes, to fruit and veg. It's that 3-hour cycle that you want to be able to eat sort of within a 15-20 minute period, and then allow that 3 hours, which is the amount of time that it actually takes your body to go through a full digestive and emptying cycle, so that when we're ready again, we can experience that hunger and we're ready for food. Okay, next question. Good, yes to fruit and veg. Next one is, are you avoiding sugar and opting for whole grains? Now, I will tell you that last night was my son's 18th and we did have cake, and I am on the Kickstart. I always am on it with you guys. And the thing is that about that, and I want this, if it comes up for you, you just need to make a choice. And I don't want you to feel bad about that choice. With the sugar or eating anything that's a little bit off the plan, if you're making a conscious decision in a celebration and you're just like, yep, I know this is what I'm going to have, you're not going to overindulge on it, you have a nice small serving, which is exactly what I did, and you don't feel bad about it, you made a choice. That's very different to going, oh, I really don't want it, and then feeling like you're giving into a craving. It's two very, very different points of power when we're talking about the Kickstart. So are you avoiding sugar and opting for whole grains, wholemeal breads and rices, whole grains? Yes, yes, everyone's doing great on this one. Okay, good. Next question. Have you reduced or eliminated alcohol? This is always a touchy subject for some people, where alcohol is a big part of the weekly intake. So let me know, yes and yes. Awesome. Alrighty, and take note of that for yourselves at home if you are watching it back in playback as well. And are you getting your 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night? So this is really super important, just especially as you start to do the in-studio sessions and about your recovery as well. So let me know how you're going with sleep at the moment. Need to get to bed early a little bit, Marie. I think that's just about just making that conscious decision and just doing your best, because I know even with myself there's always another thing to do. And sometimes I just go, forget it, this is more important. And I know definitely with so much going on at the studio at the moment, like getting that adequate sleep is so important. And the sleep will not only help with your recovery, but it will also help with the type of food choices that your body needs throughout the day. The less sleep you have, the more you're going to struggle with firstly eating less, especially not cooking in between, and getting rid of sugars, because that's the go-to when the body is lacking sleep. All righty. So far, everyone is looking pretty good online. Let's see. Is there a particular focus for this upcoming week? So obviously we'll have a lot more to work through next week on Tuesday. But is there anything in particular that you would really like to nail out of all the different principles this week, whether that be effort in your workouts, getting the 5 sessions, making sure you're getting to bed on time, getting rid of the alcohol? Is there a specific focus that if some of the other things don't quite happen for you, there's this one element of the Kickstart that you're going to stick to, and you're going to have the discipline to push everything aside so this one element can happen? Okay, so just let me know what that is. I'd love to hear what it is. Again, if you are watching it in playback, have a bit of a think about it, because as the days go on, if this has been a lot of change for you, it can be harder to stick to all of it. But if you know that there's one element that you are going to nail, whether it be increasing your water, whether it be getting rid of the sugar, any one of the points that we've just discussed, they are all impactful and they are all going to cause change and an improvement in your health and in your fitness. So if all else fails, there is one that you are not budging on. All right, excellent. Let me know if there is a focus that you do have. Have a bit of a think about it. It might come to you over the next couple of minutes. That's going to be the format every week. I'll always go through a little bit of teaching at the start. We'll go through and answer all of our questions, discuss anything that comes up in particular, and end with a specific focus. Then I'll throw it over to you guys to share, to get any questions answered. Hopefully we'll have more on next week. I think I need to maybe adjust the time and have a chat to everyone as to what's going to be a better time where we can get more on the call. But let me know if you do have any questions. I will throw it over to you, so unmute yourselves, or if you prefer, just type the questions into the chat. Somebody asked me a question about protein and what is the best protein. There are a lot of different proteins out there on the market. One thing that I can say is firstly to have a think about how you're going to be using this protein. So protein is good to obviously increase the protein intake. You only need to really add it if you're going to have it into a smoothie, or if you're making, say, baking muffins, you can actually put it in biscuits and things like that. But if you're having it in your day, the only time that you would use it is either as part of a smoothie or having it as part of a snack for either the afternoon, or having a mid-morning snack where you shake it up, you know, and blend it maybe with some fruit. In terms of protein powders, the one thing that I will say to you is always opt for a protein powder that you buy from a health food shop. The quality is always going to be better than what you're getting from the supermarket. Try to avoid things like meal replacements unless that's what you're choosing to do. Avoid buying a meal replacement when you're using it as a protein powder. Okay, because that's two very different things. Meal replacements have got all the calories as well, and nutrients and carbohydrate that would be contained to satiate your body as part of a meal, whereas you don't need all that extra if you are just using it as a protein powder, and in particular if you're going to be adding it to a smoothie. So some of the best protein powders out there, depending on what your gut can handle, if you are trying to avoid dairy, then I would go to vegetarian sources of protein. So that's your pea or your rice protein powders. There are some really fabulous protein powders at the moment, and this industry changed a lot, probably about, well, I don't know, could I say 10 years ago, where Amazonia Raw was one of the leaders in that they were creating a raw protein powder, and they were also using probiotics. I've always recommended that as a general protein powder, but I was at the health food shop the other day and they gave me some advice on another couple. So I'm actually going to do a bit of research for you guys and post it through in an email by the end of the week, just in terms of protein powders. I will be completely honest with you, and I will tell you that I do buy 500 grams of pea protein from Coles for $10. It has nothing in it outside of the pure pea protein powder, and I use that and make my own blend of smoothie and just use it purely. It doesn't have any flavor. It is a bit floury, all of those things, but I don't mind too much. I mix it with berries, coconut milk from the can. I'll put in ice, I'll put in avocado. So I'm blended in with a few different elements. I always make it with water. That's one thing, is never have your protein powder with dairy. The dairy inhibits your ability to absorb that protein. So yes, I do take that, but I know in terms of absorption, buying some of these protein powders from the health food shop, they are just more bioavailable, and I just know that they absorb into your system a lot better. But I will get back to everybody about that. But hopefully that's given you a couple of tips already. I've had some feedback saying focus on keeping food tight and not rewarding yourself for doing well. Yeah, fantastic. I with a plate of hot chips. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really, really important, because rewarding yourself with food is something that we've been taught from a very young age. And even that's something I'm very mindful of. Like, I never reward my kids with food, because, yeah, we just seem to go, okay, we've been doing really well. And I think that's an old mindset. That's sort of an old story that kind of subconsciously plays out in our bodies, and we will do it in our brains, and we do it before we've even realized what we're doing. So just with that one, just really talking that out aloud with yourself and thinking about what actually is the reward, because even though momentarily as you're eating those hot chips, it may feel nice, it may feel satiating, but you know, as well as I do, because every time I do fish and chips, like sometimes, you know, on a summer night, and we did it again this summer, it was like one night and we had fish and chips, and I just go, remind me to never do that again. Like, just feel horrible and it just is yucky. So just thinking about what actually is the reward, and putting yourself back and further away from achieving the goals, and what's really important to you isn't really a reward. It probably was a reward when you were 5 or 6 or 8 or 10. But as an adult trying to maintain your health and fitness for yourself and for your family, you need to just disconnect that. And if you're going to reward yourself, find different ways. So just relaxing, you know, on a nice couch, having time to yourself, a tea, a bath, just having some me time, all those sorts of things. But food is nourishment, and let's try and disconnect it from rewards. But absolutely, I think that's a really good idea, and we'll start from having a bit of a different mindset about it. One of the questions that I also get is, do you have to go for an hour with cardio? And as I've said already tonight, and it's in all the online course as well, between 20 and 40 minutes when we're talking about increasing your fitness is what you're working towards. With that 20 to 40 minutes, we want it to be a little bit more vigorous. So it's not about going for a stroll and sort of, like what I do, I stop and look at birds in this area. I stop and look at the birds or the trees and just sort of dawdle my way. And that, to me, is sort of my meditation time and my relaxation and my download time. I wouldn't necessarily count that as a workout. So what you want to do is you want to be a little bit more focused, sort of power through that. If you do have hills, factor that into your 20-minute walk. So what you want to be doing is going a little bit harder. You don't necessarily have to run if your body's not capable of that, but between 20 and 40 minutes. And you may want to power walk for a minute, get your breath back for 30 seconds, power walk, breath back, that sort of thing. So we want to increase the intensity and reduce the time. So basically by about 40-minute mark, you'd be struggling to do much more than 40 minutes at that pace, at that increased pace that I'm asking you to do. So what happens in doing it in that way, challenging yourself a little bit more, but also doing intervals in your cardio session, what really happens is that the body is unsure of what you're about to do next. So if you're power walking and then strolling a little bit, get your breath back, power walking, strolling, what the body does is it's unsure of what you're about to do next. So therefore it needs to, in terms of your energy systems and the physiology behind it, it's at an elevated state because it's preparing for the next time you're about to do that sprint and try and get away from the wild animal that's about to attack you. So what the body will do in that situation, it will burn more calories to have more available for you if you need to sprint off again. When you return back from that 20 to 40-minute walk, not only are you going to have burnt more calories in that time, but what will also happen is that you'll disturb your metabolism for a lot longer. It could be up to 24 hours after your session. So what happens then is that in that time that you're recovering from that session, you're up to a day later, in terms of your physiology, you're not going to actually notice this. This is all sort of happening behind, sort of in the background. You're going to be burning more calories throughout the next day as well. When you go for a stroll, even if it is longer, you will actually burn less calories, but also within 2 hours, your energy systems and your physiology, so your breath rate, your heart rate, your blood pressure, all of it returns back to normal. So therefore, the follow-on effect isn't as great as when you're doing this more intense for shorter duration of time. Now, if you are watching this in playback and you do have any other questions, please email them through to me, or just put it in one of the discussions on the course. Each of the chapters has got a discussion at the end of it. Please feel free to add any notes in there. I will check them and respond to you. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you back next week. And I look forward to seeing everyone in the studio this week or online. Wishing everyone a fabulous first full week. And we'll see you next week on Tuesday.